The truth is, most people don't even realize how social media rewires their mind. Every scroll, every swipe, every like, it's all data your brain is quietly collecting and comparing. You open an app to check in, but really, you're stepping into an arena of silent competition. You're not just looking, you're measuring. And that constant comparison starts to distort your perception of yourself. You begin to believe that someone else's highlight reel is your standard of success. But what you're really seeing are fragments, edited, filtered, and performed moments, not the full story. The human brain is wired for connection, but social media manipulates that wiring. Each notification, each red dot, triggers a tiny dopamine release, the brain's reward chemical. It's the same chemical that lights up when you win, eat something you love, or get a compliment. But here's the dangerous part. Dopamine doesn't last. It spikes, then it crashes, leaving you wanting more. And that's exactly what social media feeds on. It keeps you chasing the next high, the next like, the next moment of validation. You're not addicted to the app. You're addicted to the feeling it gives you, the illusion of being valued, even if only for a second. Over time, this cycle conditions you. You start to equate attention with worth. When people engage with your posts, you feel relevant, admired, confident. But when they don't, doubt creeps in. You start questioning yourself, your appearance, your accomplishments, your value. That's the trap. You begin to outsource your self-esteem to a digital audience that's not even thinking about you. You hand over your confidence to an algorithm, and that's a dangerous exchange, because algorithms don't care about your mental health. They care about engagement. They reward emotion, not truth. They feed you content that keeps you reacting, comparing, consuming, until you're hooked on the performance of confidence instead of the reality of it. Think about how subtle it is. You're scrolling through photos, someone's beach trip, another person's promotion, someone else's perfect relationship. You don't realize your brain is stacking these moments against your own life. Each scroll quietly whispers, "You're behind. You're not enough. You should be doing more." That's not reality. That's distortion. Because you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's edited version of the truth. You're measuring your real life against someone's performance. Psychologically, this creates what experts call upward comparison. You constantly look up at people you think are doing better, living better, looking better, and it chips away at your confidence, little by little. You stop seeing your own progress. You stop appreciating your own growth. You stop celebrating what's real because you're chasing what looks better. And the irony? The people you're comparing yourself to are often doing the same thing. They're also scrolling, also doubting, also performing. We've created a digital culture where everyone's pretending to be okay while silently feeling less than. It's a silent competition of insecurities. But you can't compare yourself to an illusion and expect peace. You can't chase validation in a space designed to make you doubt yourself. Confidence doesn't grow in comparison. It grows in clarity. And clarity begins when you understand the game you're playing. The moment you recognize that every post is curated, every caption crafted, every image edited, you start to see through the illusion. You begin to reclaim your awareness. You realize that comparison is not truth, it's perception, and perception can be manipulated. That's why awareness is everything. Once you become aware, you stop being reactive. You start choosing how you engage, what you consume, and most importantly, what you believe about yourself. You have to remind yourself, what you see online is not reality. You're only seeing what people want you to see. You're not seeing the struggles, the failures, the messy middle that makes them human, because that's not what gets likes. But the truth is, everyone struggles. Everyone has moments of doubt, fear, and loneliness. You're not behind. You're just human. When you understand the psychology behind social media, you begin to separate who you are from what you see. You start realizing that your value doesn't fluctuate based on engagement. Your worth isn't negotiable. And when you stop measuring yourself through the lens of others, you begin to find something far more powerful than validation. You find authenticity. Real confidence has nothing to do with comparison. It's built in quiet moments of self-discipline, self-respect, and truth. It's when you look in the mirror and know who you are, even if the world doesn't applaud it. That's the kind of confidence no algorithm can touch, because it's rooted in something real: your character, your integrity, your effort. So if you ever find yourself scrolling and feeling less than, stop and remind yourself, none of this defines you. You are not pixels. You are not performance. You are not your followers, your metrics, or your likes. You are a living, breathing, growing human being, capable, complex, and valuable without any digital proof. The comparison trap only has power when you believe in it. The moment you stop feeding it attention, it starves. And what takes its place is self-awareness. That's when your confidence begins to rebuild, not through validation, but through truth. Because when you stop comparing, you start appreciating. You start to see your own path clearly, without distortion. And that's where your real strength lies. Not in being seen, but in seeing yourself clearly. You can tell the strength of a person by the kind of friendships they keep. Healthy friendships don't drain you. They steady you. They don't make you question your worth. They remind you of it. In a world where loyalty is often conditional and kindness feels performative, a healthy friendship stands out because it gives more than it takes. It's not built on convenience or status, but on truth. It's not about who's watching, who's winning, or who's ahead. It's about genuine connection that doesn't shift when life does. A healthy friend is someone who tells you the truth even when it's uncomfortable. They don't enable your weakness just to keep the peace. They challenge you, respectfully, because they want to see you grow. They don't gossip about you when you're not in the room. They defend your name even when you're not there to hear it. They don't compete with you, they root for you. There's no hidden scoreboard, no quiet resentment when you win. Instead, there's pride. They celebrate your success like it's their own, because in a healthy friendship, there's no threat in someone else's light. But honesty isn't the only mark of a healthy friendship. It's also safety. You feel safe being yourself, unfiltered, imperfect, emotional, human. You don't have to perform to be accepted. You can have a bad day, a quiet moment, or even a disagreement, and the bond still holds. A healthy friend doesn't make you pay for your vulnerability. They don't use your honesty against you later. They don't punish your boundaries. They respect them. Because real friendship isn't about control. It's about mutual respect and emotional space. You know you're in a healthy friendship when you can disagree without disrespect. Conflict doesn't destroy it, it refines it. You both know that being real matters more than being right. You can talk through misunderstandings instead of letting silence turn into resentment. There's maturity in how you communicate. You listen to understand, not just to reply. You don't weaponize words or play emotional games. You take accountability. You apologize when you're wrong, and you forgive when you can. That's emotional intelligence. And that's what separates real friendship from temporary alliance. Another sign of a healthy friendship is consistency. Not intensity, consistency. It's not about who's around during the fun moments. It's who's still around when the noise stops. A healthy friend doesn't disappear when things get inconvenient. They show up when you need them, not just when it benefits them. They check in because they care, not because they're curious. They make time even when life is full because they understand that connection requires effort. Their loyalty doesn't depend on what you can offer. They're steady, dependable, and true. And yet, a healthy friendship also respects individuality. You can grow in different directions and still remain close. You don't need to talk every day to know the bond is strong. There's no guilt, no pressure, no silent scoreboard tracking who called last. You both understand that life ebbs and flows, and friendship should flow with it. That kind of maturity comes from trust. Trust that the relationship is deeper than routine. Trust that you can be separate and still solid. Healthy friends don't control how you grow. They support it. They encourage you to evolve, to pursue what makes you stronger, even if it changes the dynamic. They don't hold you back because of their insecurities. They clap for your elevation even if they're standing on a different level. Because a healthy friend isn't threatened by your progress. They're inspired by it. They know your growth doesn't diminish them. It just expands what's possible between you. Pay attention to how you feel after you spend time with someone. Do you leave energized or exhausted, uplifted or uneasy? That feeling tells you everything. Healthy friendships leave you lighter. You walk away with peace, not confusion. You feel seen, not judged. You feel accepted, not drained. Real friendship restores you. It doesn't deplete you. It should make you want to become better, not smaller. Another quiet sign of a healthy friendship is reciprocity. It's not about keeping score, but about mutual investment. There's give and take. You both contribute to the connection. You both show up when it matters. One person isn't always doing the emotional heavy lifting. One person isn't always apologizing, reaching out, or fixing things. The effort is balanced. And when life throws imbalance your way, when one of you is struggling or distant, the other steps in with grace, not guilt. That's the beauty of real friendship. It understands seasons. There's also humility in healthy friendships. You can admit when you're wrong, when you've hurt someone, when you've fallen short. You can own your flaws without fear of abandonment. There's room to be human. Because healthy friendships are built on emotional maturity, not perfection. They don't expect you to always have it together. They just expect honesty. They know that real strength is in transparency. When you're vulnerable, they don't judge. They listen. They remind you of who you are when you've forgotten. Boundaries are another form of health. You can say no without fear. You can express when something doesn't sit right, and your friend receives it with respect, not ego. Boundaries don't weaken friendships. They protect them. They create clarity and respect. And when someone values you, they'll honor your limits, not test them. You can feel the difference when a friendship is healthy. It's calm, not chaotic. It doesn't rely on drama to feel alive. You don't have to constantly question where you stand. You don't have to decode mixed signals or walk on eggshells. There's stability, emotional safety, and mutual care. You both want the same thing, a connection that adds peace, not confusion. A healthy friend also knows how to give space. They understand that you don't always need advice. Sometimes you just need presence. They don't rush to fix your pain or make it about them. They know how to sit with you in silence, to simply be there. That kind of support is rare, because most people want to talk. Few know how to just listen. And sometimes, the healthiest friendships are the quietest. They don't need to broadcast their bond. They don't post every moment online. They value privacy, depth, and authenticity over performance. It's not about how it looks. It's about how it feels. You don't need to prove it to anyone. You both just know. There's something sacred about that kind of connection. It's built on trust that doesn't need to be constantly tested. It's grounded in mutual respect, not dependence. It allows both people to stand strong individually and still remain connected. That's what makes it healthy. It's not about filling each other's voids, but about walking side by side as whole, growing individuals. At its core, a healthy friendship brings peace. It's not loud, it's not demanding, it's steady, grounding, and honest. It gives you space to breathe and strength to stand taller. It reminds you that real connection isn't about constant communication, but consistent care. It's about choosing each other again and again, not out of obligation, but out of respect. And when you find that kind of friendship, you protect it because it's rare. It's the kind that doesn't just make life easier, it makes it truer. Validation feels good, doesn't it? That small rush when someone likes your post, the buzz when your story gets views, the pride when people comment on your photos, it gives you a sense that you matter. But here's the hard truth. That's not confidence. That's conditioning. You're being trained to depend on other people's reactions to feel secure about yourself. You're outsourcing your self-worth to an audience that's constantly changing, distracted, and, most of the time, not even paying attention. The illusion of validation is seductive because it mimics acceptance. It feels like love, but it isn't. It's attention, and attention is temporary. You have to understand that social media isn't about connection anymore. It's about performance. You don't just share, you curate. You don't just express, you calculate. Every caption, every filter, every angle is designed to present the best version of yourself, not necessarily the real one. And over time, that performance starts to separate you from who you truly are. You start living for reaction instead of reflection. You begin to measure your value in metrics. how many people liked it, who commented, how fast it spread. But the question you should be asking isn't how many people saw it. It's why do I need them to? The illusion of validation is dangerous because it builds your confidence on something unstable, approval. And approval is fickle. Today, you're trending. Tomorrow, you're forgotten. That's the nature of the digital world. You cannot build real strength in a space that moves at the speed of distraction. Confidence built on validation will always require maintenance. You'll always be chasing the next post, the next compliment, the next hit of reassurance. You'll always need more because you're feeding a part of yourself that's never satisfied. And the irony is, the more validation you chase, the less confident you become. Because now your sense of worth isn't internal, it's rented. You're leasing your self-esteem from the internet, and it can be taken away at any time. One negative comment, one ignored post, one drop in engagement, and suddenly you feel less seen, less wanted, less valuable. That's not confidence. That's dependency. It's an emotional addiction, and like any addiction, it gives you a quick high followed by a deep crash. But here's the truth no one wants to say. Validation is a trap dressed like affirmation. It looks empowering, it feels empowering, but it's not, because true confidence doesn't need proof. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to be broadcasted or confirmed. Real confidence comes from alignment. When your actions, your values, and your identity all match. When you're proud of who you are, not just how you appear. When your peace is not for sale, not for likes, not for attention. Think about this. When was the last time you did something purely for yourself? Not to post about it, not to show it off, not to prove something, but just because it mattered to you. That's where your real confidence lives, in those private victories no one else knows about, in those quiet choices where no one claps, but you know you did the right thing. That's integrity, that's self-respect, and that's the kind of validation that can't be taken away because it comes from within. The illusion of validation also changes how you see other people. It turns relationships into metrics. You start categorizing people based on who engages with you online, who reposts you, who acknowledges you publicly. But real relationships aren't built on visibility, they're built on presence. The people who truly value you aren't the ones who like your posts, they're the ones who check in when you disappear. They're not chasing your content, they care about your character. Validation blinds you to that because it tricks you into thinking that public attention equals real connection. It doesn't. The loudest crowd isn't always the most loyal one. Another thing about validation, it doesn't just shape your confidence, it shapes your behavior. It makes you play small or fake big, depending on what gets you noticed. It makes you second-guess yourself. Should I post this? Will people like it? Will they judge me? Suddenly, you're editing your personality to fit the expectations of strangers. You become cautious with your truth. You filter your authenticity because you've learned that honesty doesn't always get applause. And in that process, you lose a little piece of yourself every time you choose performance over presence. There's a quiet exhaustion that comes from living for validation. It's subtle but heavy. You start feeling anxious when you're not online, restless when you're not being seen, unsure when you're alone. You forget how to sit with yourself without needing to share it. That's the cost of the illusion. It steals your stillness. It makes you crave noise because silence feels like invisibility. But silence is where confidence is built. Confidence grows in the moments when no one's watching, when you're working, healing, learning, becoming. That's where strength is born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows of self-discipline and self-respect. The truth is, validation is easy. It's easy to post something and wait for people to clap. But courage, real courage, is choosing to validate yourself when no one else does. It's being okay with not being understood. It's standing firm in your values even when they're not popular. It's knowing that your worth doesn't need to trend to be true. Because confidence that depends on validation is fragile. But confidence that's rooted in authenticity is unshakable. You have to start reclaiming that power. Start asking yourself, who am I when no one's watching? What do I believe in when no one agrees? What kind of person am I when the world goes quiet? Those answers will tell you where your confidence really stands. If your worth collapses without applause, it was never confidence. It was a performance. But if you can stand tall in silence, if you can look at yourself and feel grounded without external proof, that's when you've built something real. The illusion of validation will always be there, whispering that you need to be seen to matter. But the truth is, you don't. You were already enough before anyone noticed. You were already valuable before anyone followed. The applause doesn't make you whole. It just distracts you from the parts of yourself you've neglected to appreciate. When you stop needing validation, you start living with freedom. You stop waiting for permission to feel proud. You stop needing someone else to say you're doing okay. You know you are. And that's the power that no social platform, no comment section, no audience can ever give or take away. It's yours. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. Because once you stop chasing validation, you start chasing truth. And truth, unlike attention, lasts forever. You can tell the quality of your life by the quality of the people you allow into it. The company you keep either builds you up or quietly breaks you down. And most people don't realize how much their environment shapes their emotional balance, their self-esteem, even their confidence. A healthy friendship doesn't need to be loud or perfect. It needs to be real. It's grounded in trust, respect, and mutual growth. It's the kind of bond that doesn't require performance or pretending. You don't have to earn your place in someone's life when you're already valued there. A healthy friendship feels safe. You can show up as yourself, without editing, without fear of being judged, without feeling like you need to shrink your truth just to be accepted. You can have bad days, make mistakes, speak your mind, and still be seen with compassion. Because healthy friends don't keep score. They keep space. Space for you to be imperfect. Space for you to evolve. Space for you to tell your truth. They don't punish honesty, and they don't withdraw love when you set boundaries. Instead, they respect it. Because that's what maturity looks like, mutual respect, not silent resentment. A real friend doesn't disappear when life gets messy. They're not just there for your highlight reel, they're there in your heavy seasons. When you're quiet, when you're distant, when life feels uncertain, they reach out, they check in. Not because they want something, but because they genuinely care. They don't need a reason to ask how you're doing. That's the difference between someone who's around for convenience and someone who's committed through consistency. A healthy friendship doesn't demand attention. It's built on presence. You can always tell a healthy friendship by how it makes you feel. Do you leave that person feeling lighter, or do you walk away questioning yourself? Do they inspire growth, or do they feed insecurity? The right people won't compete with you. They'll celebrate you. They'll clap for you when you win, even if they're still waiting for their moment. There's no envy, no quiet competition. No subtle digs disguised as jokes. When something good happens for you, they don't feel smaller. They feel proud. Because real friends don't see your success as a threat. They see it as proof that good things are possible. Healthy friendship is built on honesty, not avoidance. It's being able to have hard conversations without fear of losing the bond. It's calling each other out, not to criticize, but to help each other grow. A true friend doesn't tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what you need to hear. They'll hold you accountable when you're slipping, and they'll remind you of your worth when you forget it. Their words don't sting because they come from love, not ego. That's what makes honesty powerful. It's never used as a weapon, only as a mirror. But honesty works both ways. A healthy friendship allows you to speak your truth, too. You can disagree without it becoming a war. You can express your needs without being made to feel difficult or dramatic. You can say, "I didn't like that." And instead of defense, you get understanding. That's emotional maturity, when two people can communicate with respect instead of control, when they value peace over pride. Another sign of a healthy friendship is balance. It's not about who texts first, who gives more, who's always showing up. It's about mutual effort. It's about both people choosing to show up, not perfectly, but genuinely. You shouldn't have to beg for consistency, and you shouldn't feel guilty for needing space. In a healthy friendship, both are allowed, because there's trust. You can go days, even weeks without talking, and nothing changes. The bond doesn't fade because it's not built on constant attention. It's built on genuine connection. Healthy friendships also respect individuality. You don't have to become the same person to stay close. You can have different opinions, different lifestyles, different goals, and still be aligned in respect. Real friends don't control your growth. They encourage it. They don't need you to stay small so they can feel comfortable. They give you the space to expand, to evolve, to explore new versions of yourself. And when you change, they don't say, "You're different now." They say, "I'm proud of how far you've come." Pay attention to the energy in your circle. Healthy friendships aren't built on gossip, negativity, or drama. They're not based on tearing others down just to feel closer. You shouldn't have to trade someone else's dignity for connection. Real friendship is grounded in integrity. It's clean energy. You can trust that what you say in confidence stays protected. You never have to worry about being mocked when you're not in the room. That kind of safety is rare, and when you find it, you protect it. A healthy friendship gives as much as it takes. You both pour into each other. You both listen, both care, both invest. One person isn't always the emotional anchor while the other drains the energy. It's mutual, and when life gets uneven, because it will, you both adjust with grace. Sometimes you'll be the strong one. Sometimes you'll be the one who needs to lean. That's balance. That's partnership. You'll also notice that healthy friends respect boundaries. They don't guilt you for needing rest. They don't take your silence personally. They don't pressure you into oversharing or demand access to every part of your life. They understand that space doesn't mean distance. It means respect. When someone values you, they honor your limits instead of testing them. They understand that boundaries aren't walls. They're doors that keep relationships clear, open, and sustainable. Healthy friendships are emotionally steady. They don't feel like walking on eggshells. You don't have to constantly monitor your tone or filter your thoughts to keep the peace. You can be honest, open, and expressive without fear of backlash. There's emotional safety. You can laugh, cry, question, dream, all in the same space, and know that it's accepted. That's how you know you're with the right people. You can exhale. You can relax into the connection instead of performing for it. And it's not always about deep talks and life lessons. Sometimes it's just about simple presence. The comfort of being together, doing nothing, and still feeling connected. Healthy friendships don't always need words. Sometimes it's the quiet understanding that speaks the loudest. They see you, even in silence. But one of the strongest signs of a healthy friendship is growth. A friend who truly cares about you wants to see you become better, not just stay the same. They'll push you to level up, not because they think you're not enough, but because they see what you could be. They remind you of your strength when you forget. They don't let you settle for less than you deserve. They hold you accountable, not to hurt you, but to help you. That's real love, the kind that refines you,